Mendeecees and Braxton were sneaking about Atlanta together. After learning about it, Yandy Smith discovered them, and you were the one sucking in the room. We lived in an apartment. Your bed and my bed were separated by walls. I'm paying attention. I'm listening, but I'm unable to answer my boyfriend's phone. What if I told you that this year's most explosive confrontation came from the unscripted, unfiltered, the raw mayhem of Tamar Braxton's personal life? Imagine Yandy Smith, who based her whole brand on love, devotion, and refusing to allow anybody inside her marriage, suddenly breaching all the rules and boundaries and letting her fans out in a way they have never seen before. And Tamar Braxton, the object of that anger. Yes, the singer, drama queen, and survivor Tamar is the subject of rumors, direct messages, and a startling accusation that she slept with Mendeecees Harris, Yandy's partner. Streets claim that Tamar put a stop to wounded and battered at night. When police arrived on the scene, Yandy's reputation as a faithful wife and purported avenger was changed, and she left. Was it envy? Was it treachery? Or was it an uncontrollably desperate PR ploy? The mystery is already being pieced together by social media detectives as if it were the newest, most captivating soap drama. And each fresh leak simply makes it more complicated. There is no doubt that this isn't just rumors. This controversy has the potential to reshape relationships, reputations, and reality television in general. And we're revealing everything tonight. There was no street pandemonium or flashing lights the night everything fell apart. It started as a lot of controversies do, quietly at a packed club where the talk was brewing. The music was too loud, and the bottles were too pricey. The B12 bar in Atlanta was so crowded that Friday. It's the kind of night when fans and celebrities mingle and everything seems like it may make the news. Mendeecees Harris and Tamar Braxton were in the center of it all. To be clear, this was more than simply a friendly networking event. Mendeecees wasn't simply passing by, and Tamar wasn't shaking hands with a promoter. The two seemed locked in, talking, laughing too close, and leaning in as if the bass of the music was their justification. According to many witnesses who said they were in the room, forming a little bubble of their own. According to one witness, Tamar even leaned on him as if she didn't care who was seeing. Mendeecees wasn't retreating. According to another, he leaned straight back in. If anything, the thing with nightlife in Atlanta is this: nothing is kept a secret for very long. Three things are present at every club: bloggers, cameras, and individuals who are prepared to pitch a story before the DJ has finished playing the last song. Blurred videos were already making the rounds on the internet by midnight. Tamar's smile is too big. Mendeecees is bending over too much. Fans are using flaming emojis and side eyes as captions. If you know Tamar, you are aware that she feeds on attention. However, she wasn't being untidy on a reality program. She was being untidy in Yandy's domain. Since let's not forget that Yandy Smith's reputation as a devoted wife is the foundation of her whole persona. The person that supported Mendeecees despite jail term, public rumors, and all of the trolls on Instagram, more times than her admirers can count. She has laughed off side chicks and direct messages, punched back at women online, and shared those love conquers all pictures. She placed her reputation on the line by marrying Mendeecees. Imagine the chaos that ensued when those rumors began to circulate. By 1 in the morning, Tamar didn't leave the club by herself. Witnesses said that she left with her longtime friend and close associate Funky Dava. Apparently, he was going to take her home. Here's the worst part, however: Mendeecees came next. It was not a coincidence, nor a casual departure. He followed closely behind, trailing Tamar's automobile. According to many witnesses, things didn't stop at the curb when they arrived to Tamar's house. According to Funky Tamar, Mendeecees and a few other people entered the little after-party. The greatest mystery of the evening is still what transpired behind those doors. Tamar was discovered battered, bleeding, and hardly awake hours later. Facial swelling, missing teeth, and the sort of wounds that leave scars after they have healed. Tragic accident. According to Tamar's official narrative, fans, however, weren't buying it. The time frame was too disorganized. Police are called after she departs with Mendeecees, who is left beaten. This wasn't an accident. According to the internet, it was retaliation. Then everyone looks at Yandy. Why? Because Yandy's history is unambiguous. When it comes to her marriage, she doesn't play on hip-hop and love. She's absorbed the fallout from Mendeecees' troubles, even going so far as to accuse her of dodgy DMS in order to shield him. She was publicly dubbed a liar by her co-stars, but she refused to back down. It's not even close to being ride or die, Being unwavering, impenetrable, and unbreakable with her family is the foundation around which Yandy created her brand. Fans thought she could have lost her temper because of this. Because the same lady who used the internet to pretend to be her boyfriend might just as readily handle things herself in real life. The streets could easily see Yandy pulling up herself if Tamar went too far. Let's fuel the fire with additional fuel now. Mendeecees' birthday was celebrated on Instagram with Yandy, only a few days before the whole affair broke. Lengthy subtitles, sincere homages, and toasts at private dinners. It was the kind of public display of affection that shouts were solid. Mendeecees even wrote, videos from the event showed him lifting a glass and referring to Yandy as his everything, as family and friends applauded. "You are my foundation, my companion, my closest friend. I love you forever." So consider that. After being seen with him at a bar a few days later, Tamar is taken to the hospital with severe injuries. For the general public, this was no accident, it was cause and effect. Additionally, if you believed that the internet would overlook this, you should reconsider. Fans created whole timelines on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. Another remark that went viral wrote, "The sirens, the flashing lights, the vague police reports. Something's being covered up." Another added, "Yandy beat up Tamar because she was messing with her husband. Period." And more conjecture followed. Was the music of Tamardom hurrying out her next video to divert attention away from the controversy? Because a teaser that included Mendeecees himself unexpectedly came out earlier than anticipated. Control of damage. Anyone. The murmurs increased in volume. Tamar wasn't only seeing Yandy's boyfriend, she reportedly tried to use a public relations gimmick to change the course of events. However, the issue with stunts is straightforward. The internet is too fast for you. The story belongs to the people once the rumors start. There was a lot of rumor going on in Atlanta. That night, club patrons claimed to have seen Yandy's automobile close to Tamar's area. Before the police came, neighbors reported hearing yelling. Fans exploded with speculations when blogs presented headlines ranging from crime scene drama to hip-hop and love. Some urged Yandy to use her hands. Some thought Tamar faked it to get attention. However, everyone acknowledged that this was no typical mishap. It becomes much more hazy at this point. Tamar's driver that evening, Funky Dava, went public. Angry about being pulled into the issue, he vented on Instagram. He wrote that I was collateral damage in a publicity stunt. He claimed Tamar never cleared his reputation and accused her of remaining silent when fans pointed the finger against him. His rage just fueled the flames. Why should anybody else believe her account if even her own friends didn't? Tamar remained evasive throughout it all, writing about getting well and moving on. But she never addressed the actual question. In reality, what took place that evening? That quiet turned into a confession in and of itself, because silence speaks louder than words in the realm of rumor. At this point, three perspectives are colliding. Yandy's reputation as the ultimate ride or die, Tamar's near-fatal accident, and Funky Davis's treachery in public. When you combine them, you have a scandal that is too messed up to overlook. After Tamar's ambiguous postings and Quirky Davis's outburst, the story continued to be heated. Something much dirtier was created when it ignited, because the second wave was complete pandemonium if the first wave was supposition. All of a sudden, the floodgates erupted as everyone claimed to have inside knowledge. D-Miz, from anonymous users flooded blogs, investigators on TikTok, fake police reports, and even patched, hazy film with dramatic soundtracks started to circulate. The weird aspect is that it was widely accepted on the internet. Tamar's neighbors allegedly observed a lady in a hoodie leave her home shortly before sirens lit up the street. According to another anonymous source, who said they heard police officers at the scene comment, "This isn't just an accident. This looks like an altercation." And how did fans choose that unknown lady? In your opinion, how did fans choose that unknown lady? In your opinion, was Yandy Smith? That's who. The story almost wrote itself. Hashtags were popular at this point. Hashtag Mindy's mess. Hashtag cops HOD down. And hashtag Yandy versus Tamar. Each platform served as a battleground. Justice was sought by Tamar's supporters. Hip-hop stans just popped popcorn and acted as if a new season was unfolding as Yandy's fans vowed she would never jeopardize her fame and devotion. In actuality, it was exacerbated by the blogs. Some headlines read, "Yandy Smith denies involvement, but fans aren't buying it. The frenzy was unstoppable." Others read, "Tamar and bloodied state after alleged love triangle fight." Finally, the audio leak surfaced. A shaky 2-minute video that was purportedly taken outside Tamar's neighborhood on the evening of the event surfaced online. You could hear a lady in it. "Keep my husband's name out of your mouth. they said. As they heard sirens coming, it didn't even matter whether it was genuine. The impression was sufficient. The assumption was solidified when fans immediately identified the voice as Yandy. She made Tamar pay after seeing her lapse. There were other purported pieces of proof. Nevertheless, internet investigators matched a blurry picture of a black SUV that seemed close to Tamar's driveway. To Yandy's typical vehicle, while Tamar screamed inside. Another witness said they saw him walking outside DC's. It was disorganized. It was dramatic, and very popular on social media. Tamar's squad attempted to reclaim control in the interim. They presented her injury as a survival moment, shared glimpses of her studio sessions, and pushed her next song harder. However, the rumors always retracted their attempts to change the subject to Yandy, because this is the reality. A controversy is more popular than a song. And the controversy was writing itself in this instance. For her part, Yandy first remained strangely silent. Nothing, no clapbacks, no posts, and no denial could have outscreamed that stillness. It was regarded as guilt by fans. Memes appeared all at once. Boxing rings were photoshopped into Yandy. In hospital beds, Tamar Mendeecees is perplexed in the center. Their roles had already been determined by the internet. The aggressor, Yandy. The victim is Tamar Mendeecees, receives the infamous award. Yandy then abruptly ended her quiet in the most dramatic manner imaginable. She seemed cool, composed, and completely dismissive during an Instagram live. She rolled her eyes and said, "Y'all are really bored. I was with my family at home. Children that evening. Quit toying with my family." She made no mention of Tamar. Damage was done before the word fight was ever spoken. The comments were inundated by fans. A guilty individual would say just that. Others said that she was legitimately defending herself. Her life just fueled the flames. Additionally, even though all of this Wasmans wasn't aiding in the unfolding, he wrote cryptic statements instead of addressing the issue. Not all things are as they appear. Next, pay attention to the important things rather than the noise. He was instantly dragged by fans. "The noise is you, sir." There was one comment. "We wouldn't even be here," according to another, "if you weren't with Tamar at the club." Because he didn't explicitly deny anything, people be prepared for the worst. The repercussions extended beyond rumor logs. The story was picked up by major sources, who framed it as a violent love triangle. Talk shows discussed whether Tamar's accident had deeper causes, or whether Yandy was unjustly singled out. As if the story couldn't get any larger, other members of the Love and Hip Hop cast also weighed in with dubious tweets. One of them saying, "Wouldn't surprise me if somebody finally snapped." A compelling police report went viral. It named Tamar Braxton as the assault victim under investigation and made reference to a female suspect who the victim knew. The screenshot had already gone around the world, despite the fact that it was subsequently shown to be doctored. If it was true, fans didn't care. It was important to them because it supported the story they had previously accepted. The public was no longer only chatting among themselves. They were calling for repercussions. Yandy's arrest was demanded in tweets. While some urged Mendeecees to make a statement, Tamar's supporters used hashtags like as #JusticeForTamar, portraying her as simply another black woman who had been let down by the system. Even those outside of the hip-hop and love circles had to pay notice due to the severity of the response. According to sources, networks were in a frenzy behind the scenes. Hip-hop producers and Love reportedly discussed how to deal with the aftermath. Should they entirely remove themselves from it or include it into the show? There were rumors of emergency meetings at VH1 because, let's face it, lawsuits don't sell like drama like this. And rumors of the litigation were already circulating. Although they never filed, Tamar's team allegedly contemplated suing for bodily damage and slander. According to rumors, Yandy had attorneys on quick dial, braced for the worst. Additionally, rumors circulated that Mendeecees would even be questioned for being in the heart of it all rather than for using violence. The cascading impact continued. Allegedly, brand partnerships were in jeopardy. Promotions for a skincare brand that was reported to collaborate with Tamar were discreetly halted. According to reports, a charity Yandy collaborated with received negative feedback in their remarks. Instagram controversy wasn't the only source of the issue. Their actual means of subsistence were being impacted. One thing emerged as the clearest of all. The public became dependent on the narrative. The controversy just became larger with each new leak, rumor, and live. Additionally, viewers couldn't get the picture of Tamar's bleeding face and Yandy's purported wrath out of their minds, even as she attempted to shift the focus of the story onto her recovery process. It was like seeing a slow-motion auto accident. It was ugly. You knew that. You couldn't take your eyes off it. Even though you knew it was messy, the events that followed were only hinted at in part 2 of this story. the alleged repercussions, the legal ramifications, and the long-term effects that threatened to propel this Atlanta controversy into the national spotlight. Wait till you hear how far the rabbit hole really went if you thought this was just dirty gossip. The murmurs had become a roar by now, and nobody was able to avoid the heat. Tamar's fall wasn't your typical celebrity accident. It had turned into the focal point of one of Atlanta's most repulsive rumor storms ever observed. Fans were certain that something sinister was lurking under the surface because of the convoluted time frame, the unconvincing denials, and the alleged leaked audio. The repercussions was swift. Tamar's team reportedly frantically spoke with attorneys behind closed doors to consider their alternatives rather than file a formal lawsuit. There were rumors that they asked authorities for explanations, but the replies were evasive and merely revealed the depth of the mystery. Concurrently, murmurs said Yandy wasn't just sitting around doing nothing. It was said that she had crisis managers advising her on each post, urging her to seem composed, focused on her family, and untouchable. It was necessary to re-shine the image of the unconcerned wife. Naturally, fans weren't holding out for formal announcements. Using whatever fragments they could locate, they played detective. The old clips came back. Yandy on Hip Hop and Love. I'll do whatever it takes to keep what's mine. That statement now served as evidence that she had forewarned everyone for a long time. Like coded communications, Tamar's mysterious studio teases were analyzed. Particularly, the remark, "She thought she could break me, but I'm still standing," caused a stir on social media. The time made it hard to distinguish between art and scandal, regardless of whether Tamar wrote it about Yandy. The alleged hospital leaks followed. A hazy Tamar had many contusions, including oral injuries and potential assault. According to a screenshot purportedly taken from a hospital report, it didn't matter whether it was verified or not. Blogs with titles like "Hospital Confirms Tamar Was Attacked" were all over the place. The harm was already done. The story of the terrible disaster vanished almost immediately, to be replaced with a more sinister ending. They had defeated Tamar. Once hailed as elegant, Yandy's quiet now seemed premeditated. Her Instagram was a highlight reel featuring business endeavors, inspirational sayings, and family portraits. However, allegations were used to hijack every remark. "How about you discuss Tamar?" a fan wrote. Another scoffed. People that are innocent don't remain thus silent. The contemptuous tone of Yandy's last live performance didn't help either. The idea that she was concealing anything was supported by the continuously aired footage. Rather than standing up for anybody, Mendeecees sprouted gasoline in the form of mysterious captions. "Not all things are as they appear. Concentrate on the important things." He was seen as the shady focal point of it all, since he refused to provide names or correct the record. He wasn't simply guilty of flirting with Tamar. According to supporters, he was guilty of sitting back and quiet and allowing the reputations of two ladies to burn. It became too huge for gossip websites alone. Talk shows discussed it as if it were a national scandal. The panelists disagreed on whether Tamar had orchestrated the disturbance for publicity, or whether she was a victim of envy. The discussion carried the topic outside of hip-hop circles and into mainstream pop culture. One analyst said, "If this is true, Yandy's career as a public activist is over." Another countered, "Tamar has a history of feuds. This isn't shocking." As fans believed they had seen everything, and accused police, the document appeared online. It named a woman the victim knew as a suspect. The screenshot went viral even though it was subsequently shown to be manipulated. Perception was more important than fact once again. For many, it validated their pre-existing beliefs. Yandy had lost his temper. The financial damage came soon after. According to reports, Tamar's collaborations suffered, with at least one company discreetly halting online. Criticism of Yandy's charity initiatives raised serious concerns about how someone with a violent past could oversee community initiatives. Not even Mendeecees was exempt. He announced a shoe cooperation, but it was abruptly removed from his social media accounts. Reputations were no longer the only factor. The stakes were high. Tamar's health, meanwhile, started to feature in the soap drama. She shared self-portraits from the hospital bed with the words "healing" as the caption and proceeding. But comments became a battlefield rather than a place of pity. She was inundated with prayers from half of her supporters, while the other half accused her of using tragedy to gain influence. Every update turned into a new round in the public opinion court. The vagueness, not simply the specifics, was what sustained the controversy. Was Tamar making everything up? Or was she really attacked? Was it a myth that got out of hand, or did Yandy really show up? Had Mendeecees cheated? or had he just had bad timing? The audience was free to create their own versions, since there were no specific solutions. And each version was more dramatic than the one before it. The impact was widespread. Wouldn't surprise me if somebody finally lost it. Other reality stars began making disparaging remarks on social media when they tweeted. The subliminal shots only confirmed for fans that the industry knew more than they were letting on. The mystery escalated when Funky Daver made a reappearance with a mysterious message that said, "I know what I saw, but I'll never say it out loud," even if Tamar's buddy declined to speak explicitly. It opened the chance for rumors to run wild. A few weeks later, Tamar had a spectacular rollout for her song. Every line was associated with the controversy by fans. Yandy shared pictures from her trip, beaming with her children as like nothing had occurred. And Mendeecees completely avoided the controversy by promoting a podcast. What was already ingrained in the internet, however, was not removed by any of it. In hip-hop rumor circles, Mendeecees' name became shorthand for treachery. Trolls yelled, "What about Yandy?" Whenever Tamar took the stage, Yandy's posts about empowerment were met with comments that urged, "Keep your hands to yourself." Their identities had been forever etched with the controversy. And that's the harsh reality of contemporary controversies. They never fade, they're not buried. They get immortalized, meme-made, and screenshotted. That night will be mentioned when Tamar releases an album in the future. Mendeecees will always be known as the guy who stood in the midst while everything burnt. And when Yandy runs for office, someone will say, "Didn't she go wild on Tamar?" Because perception is reality in today's environment. Perception also suggests that Tamar Braxton's mishap wasn't really an accident. The internet will always remember it as a scandal, a warning, and a clumsy mix of betrayal and retaliation. Here we are. Then, Mendeecees Harris stands in the middle of a storm he won't put out. Yandy Smith painted as the Avenger, and Tamar Braxton was left bloodied. The most absurd aspect is that we may never learn the whole truth. Was it a terrible mishap? After hearing too many rumors, did a jealous wife lose her temper? Or was it a clumsy public relations ploy that got so out of hand that police had to intervene to put an end to it? The truth is that perception is more important than facts in the modern society. And the current impression is one of instability, treachery, and scandal. The true question, however, is this: who do you think is responsible? Do you believe Tamar is concealing the truth in order to preserve her reputation? Do you think that after years of humiliation, Yandy lost her temper to protect her marriage? Or is the genius Mendeecees seeing two ladies ruin each other because of him? Because this is the one thing that cannot be disputed, regardless of whatever version you choose. The internet never forgets. Memes, movies, and screenshots have already made this controversy a permanent part of history. It's your time now. Put your ideas in there. Which side do you support? Yandy's, nobody's, or Was this just poor luck, retaliation, or a setup? Above all, what do you believe will happen next? If you're stunned, be sure to press the like button. Turn on alerts to ensure you don't miss the next shocking revelation, and hit subscribe if you want more in-depth analyses. I promise you that in a society this chaotic, the next controversy is already in the making.